Perfect. So, as you know, as Noel actually introduced us, we actually a group of global black belts across Microsoft. We are working on an open source project called as Albero. So Albero is basically a decision tree that's driven out of one specific aspect in mind. That is to give the customers across the globe to basically get an unbiased, logical way of deciding the best fit architecture in Azure. So this is, though we are from Microsoft, we have taken a very unbiased view of actually building this out. And this has been used by quite a lot of customers globally. And there's more than 10,000 users, active users globally as well. There's big organizations who have taken this approach to adopt Albero to create their own version of Albero within the organization. So very, very excited to present this Albero decision tree, and I've got a link up in there as well if you're interested to have a look at it straight away. So I've got Eleni and Andre, I've recorded them talking about this, so I just want to play that as well. And before I do it, I just wanted to get you sort of a way of what are we presenting here. So we're talking about Albero, the decision tree. I want to actually start off with saying why we built it and the purpose behind that. And I also want to give you a history of, how we went about building it and what are the revisions that we came about, and some of the customer use cases as well, globally and as well as in Australia. So with that, I just wanted to play the video, the audio from Eleni talking about why we came up with this Albero decision tree.
Hi, this is Eleni, and now we're going to talk how it all started. The data space has evolved to be a huge ecosystem of services. The portfolio of databases we have on Azure for storing and processing data keeps growing, and it counts at the moment more than 20 databases. The question that is commonly asked by partners, customers, and even colleagues is how to navigate across that. How to choose the best database for our project. One might say that the way to properly choose the right option is to carefully read the documentation that is free and accessible online in order to get and understand all features, capabilities, and limitations of the services. Well, good luck with that. If you go to DB ranking, you will see more than 350 databases. And we all know the paradox of diminishing returns on information and knowledge. Basically, by increasing the amount of information one can get, that goes increasing knowledge and the understanding. But this is up to a certain point, where further than that, increasing information creates confusion about the offering and maybe even about the problem that you try to solve. So we might use a shortcut to this approach. And what we've noticed is that usually the criteria we base our decision are not pure functional or technical requirements, but more it can be the experience we already have with a specific technology. Like I was happy with that product, so I'll use it in every time. Or preferences. For this use case, I prefer technology X. Or even beliefs. I believe that this functionality exists at this specific service, so I'm going to go for it. But as you can imagine, there are problems with this approach. And we see that usually later in the stages of an engagement of a project, where for some reason we need to review and solve performance issues. All the above led us to create a decision tree we call Albero, with the exact amount of information needed to make a decision that simplifies the process of selecting a data backend for a project. We introduced Albero back a year ago, and since then we have more than 10,000 unique users that basically follow the principles of identifying the read and write patterns of their projects. What we have in this first version is two paths. One on the top is the write and how we write data, how frequently, is it bulk or stream, etc. And the other is how we read it once it is written. Are we doing point lookups? Are we doing explorative queries? And so on. Now, a workload, most of the time, will have mixed requirements for reads and write. This means that we need to integrate more than one data services. And this is portrayed in the decision tree with the in and out icons of the data services that shows the out-of-the-box integration on Azure. Clicking on those icons, it takes you to the official Microsoft documentation. We have also created separate views for developers where you can see what is supported in terms of programming languages, versions, and sizes of messages at each service, and also a view with the security features of each data store. One of the customers that uses Albero is UBS. The CTO team took the Albero, as this is an open source project, and adjusted it to their own needs. In order to distinguish between the services, they created a color scheme to define owners and the different environments, and they are using it as a tool for the enterprise migration framework to decide where each of their workload would land on cloud. Tanya is one of the contributors of Albero, and here you can find how she describes Albero and how it helps them in their journey to the cloud.
So that's Eleni talking about Albero and why we came up with Albero, and obviously UBS using Albero internally. So Andre, myself, and Eleni, we actually are the owners of this open source project, but we have so many collaborators across the world, including Tanya from UBS as well, collaborating in terms of how Albero is used in designing and also the issues and basically improvising on Albero as well. So I've got a few examples up here that you can see that they are customers from Australia using Albero as part of the architecture decision framework. This is basically, when people are not able to decide which architecture to go towards in terms of if there is a Spark, if there is a SQL sort of solution, which one they have to go after. Do they have to build everything in Delta Lake, or is data warehouse still relevant, and things like that? That's where the Albero decision tree has been hugely useful. Similar to UBS, we have actually done the same thing with Rio Tinto. So one of their major migration projects is where Albero is being used, and it's officially documented saying that the Albero has been used as part of the decision-making process for the target architecture for the migration. And Rio Tinto also are getting onto that journey of using Albero internally, which is very Rio Tinto specific. So I will actually kind of let Andre talk about it in a minute. We've created a new version where we are publishing Albero as something that you could adopt from an organization level. So we are sharing the artifacts. We've created a CI/CD approach to building this whole decision tree. So we are actually going to enable Rio Tinto to have their own version of Albero within Rio Tinto. So that's kind of the journey of some of the customers in Australia, and I've got a few logos there. There's obviously lots. Just to talk about the revisions, right? So we've got some 3 major revisions that we did in 2021, and there's lots more to come. So from a revision perspective, the first thing we did was to actually create a very simplified and a streamlined visual representation. What we realized is, though it is an unbiased logical view of read and write profiles, there is a little bit of more business context that we needed to add to the decision tree. So that was our first revision in terms of giving a layer of source applications and also the quantitative parameters, defining, whether it is an ETL or versus an ELT, whether it is a application that you're trying to build, or you're trying to build a streaming sort of solution. So we added a lot of business context into that decision tree to make it more simplified. And then we also had created three or more specific decision trees. So the one that you have here that I'm highlighting is basically the Spark-based decision tree. There's a storage-based decision tree. There is a Cosmos DB-based decision tree. So if you drill down onto those specifics, you'll have a very specific storage-based decision tree, which talks about different storage blobs to ADLS, whether you need Delta Lake. So very specific to the storage concept. So we've got a decision tree that is specifically for that. And there's also the Spark options that we have from Databricks, HD Inside. There's also the options around Synapse Spark. So what we have done is we have created a drill down version of a Spark-based decision tree that you can drill down to just to look at the Spark capabilities and make a decision about which one to go after, which follows the same pattern as the main decision tree. What we also did, on top of the developer view that Eleni was talking about, we also created a security view. So added elements of security around the different security controls we have across the Azure Data Service, and added a view of the security controls for every one of these servers. So as you're making a decision as an organization, not only you're looking at the capabilities and looking at the skill sets, looking at the integrations of services in and out, you're also having a view of what are the security controls available across these services, so you can have a more informed decision about what architecture you have to go to. So that's sort of like, the three major revisions that we came about. And what we also did is created a team of community where, everything is sort of logged in GitHub. We have got 110 issues that was raised over a period of time, which is more than a year. And we've consistently worked on those issues and closed those issues, have worked on the feedback that we have actually received across the community as well. So with that, I might just ask Peter to play the audio recording of Andre talking about the newer version of Albero, please.
Thank you, Eleni. And hello, it's Andre here. So just wanted to elaborate on a few things. So first of all, on 1st of September this year, we have launched a new version, which not only includes the results of the fourth major review, but also it brings us in a fully new interface, fully new experience. And in this experience, we have put all the decision trees, we have all the technologies up front, so you can find them directly on the main page. And we have also included a short description for each and every decision tree. What's this whole thing about? There also we have added the filters and the search, so you can search on the contents of descriptions, on the tags and all. And also you can filter that by the technology, for example, be it SQL, Postgres, or Spark, or whatever it be. And also the viewpoint like security, or development, or industry, and so on and so forth. We have also added so-called solutions gallery, so where we're working on some specific applications or specific decision trees for various industries. Like, for example, in this situation, we have added recently the IoT one. So that's a pretty good one as well. And also, we have added the materials which are supporting these decision trees, and the architecture is proposed. So it's on the last section. The interesting thing about this new experience is also that now we can basically use that within the enterprises and because it's the fully React-based application with its own CI/CD pipeline, and this also enabled us to basically share that with our large customers, and ingest these decision trees, adjust them, right, to whatever needs the large customers have. For example, they might want to do the whitelisting or exclude the certain services or mark the owners there or add some specific limitations, whatever it be. So how the process now looks like, we can basically copy our React application and the static content session from our GitLab into another GitLab, whatever it be, enterprise or something, and we can share that. And then you can adjust the diagram based on, using the Lucidcharts or Visio or whatever. And then once it's adjusted, we're using the HTML map creator just to adjust the image map, because basically all of these components are baked by the links, so the links to the docs, and that can be adjusted. So for example, you can change the links to the Microsoft official docs onto the links for your internal resources, whatever, right? And then you can add all of this to your private GitLab, and then adjust the CI/CD. We have the CI/CD process. Now we are publishing on Netlify, but you can change it and basically do the CI/CD to whatever location you want, right? Be it, I don't know, SharePoint server, or be it any sort of a static hosting, whatever. So that's how it works right now, and that's how the enterprises are using it right now. One more thing, so basically we have definitely, and we are supporting this version, https albero.cloud. That's our main version. It's publicly available, right? What we're trying to do is we're trying to make this very transparent. We're trying to make this very open. So all the things we do, we are tracking them in the GitHub, in our public GitHub, because again, the GitLab environment is private, is ours, but the GitHub environment is widely opened. And now, main thing which we're utilizing there are the issues, and we're tracking and sharing every change, every single change we make. If you see that something in these diagrams is wrong or missing, or you have any sort of a question around that, right? You want to know why the certain decision was recommended, or you want to propose an alternative decision or an alternative, I don't know, way of making these decisions, just simply raise an issue, and then we will take it from there. Thank you so much, and with that, I will pass the word to Elizabeth for the closing notes. Thank you.
Yep, here's some of the free sort of training materials available as part of Microsoft's. So compete in our Cloud Skills Challenge, and there's also a request for $100 USD's Azure Pass that you can apply for. As a summary from an Albero perspective, as you know, this is an open source. We've invested a lot of time. There's lots of discussions that we are having within Microsoft, within the engineering team, and outside of it as well, as we actually come up with these sort of decision trees and some of the recommendations that we are proposing. So ultimately, this is an open source project to give the customers an unbiased, logical way of deciding what is the best fit architecture for them for the solutions that they are trying to build in the cloud. With that, I would just want to wrap it up and pass it on to Noel.